I'm going to talk in hushed tones because I'm afraid that my neighbors will be sharpening their pitchforks and lighting their torches if they know what I have. Because the last item I picked up, I was being shunned during the estate sale because of it. It's the Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry. I've got Green Bay Packer stuff. What am I doing with Green Bay Packer stuff? But I have Green Bay Packer stuff. And it's kind of cool. I barely know what sport this is, but it's kind of cool.
Well, if you got a dollar, well, just lousy down. You know that I got rhythm that could suit your budget fine.
Hi, this is Patrick, the Trusty Mercantile. Welcome to my channel. I'm doing another haul video. Unfortunately, I did not have the opportunity to film at an estate sale that I attended last week. It was listed as a hoarder estate sale, and so that's always encouraging. And I found the estate sale pretty interesting, and I think this might be because of the time of COVID or whatever the case. It was a company that was running the estate sale that I personally had not worked with. Not a big deal. There's tons of them that I've never worked with before. I'm not sure if they did the best marketing they could have, only because I went on the last day, which is when they were doing their discounts and everything. And I went into the basement, which is really what they had promoted when I saw it. They said, that was the hoarder basement. There were boxes that hadn't even been opened yet, and this was the third day of the sale. So I don't know if they just didn't have the traffic, but there were quite a few people the day I was there, maybe because they were promoting it as a discounted day. And so it was busy enough that I really wasn't able to do any filming during my shopping. There were too many people around, and I was also having to carry the things because there was no place to put your stuff. So there was no way to hold a camera at the same time as pulling some of the stacks that I was dealing with. So instead, I'm going to do a haul video. And so most of these items will end up probably in my YouTube sales, which I do here on my YouTube channel on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. I do have eBay and Etsy, and I'm becoming more active on that. Actually, I take that back. There will be one item that will most definitely go into eBay, at least. And a couple of things I still have to do a little bit of research. But I'll just show you some of the things that I got because I think they're kind of fun. It was an interesting estate, an interesting home with several different types of collections, and I just kind of got some random stuff. And the first was I grabbed some glass. And what I grabbed was, and again, this is another thing that I found interesting about this estate sale. So again, third day, last day of the sale, I'm in the kitchen, and up on the wall in the kitchen, pretty high up, is a shelf, a decorative shelf that has stuff up on it. And so I look, and there's some cobalt glass up there, and I called out to the people in the front room. I said, is the stuff up on the shelf for sale? And they're like, oh yeah, do you want us to get that down? Yeah. So they got it down. It is absolutely filthy, and I have not washed it yet. But there were 3 sets of salt and pepper shakers, and they were actually very nicely displayed. I felt it was disingenuous to call this a hoarder house. They had a lot of stuff, but even seeing it on day 3, you could tell that they took good care of what they had, and this shelf was still very nicely displayed. So they had 3 sets of salt and pepper shakers. So you had this little set of the cobalt with the aluminum tops. You had a slightly taller, narrower set, pressed glass, also with the tops. And then what really had caught my eye, the Mr. Peanut, or the Peanut person, because I don't know if that's technically Mr. Peanut, but it's a peanut body. The Peanut people. Also, and so the way they had it displayed, which is why I want to give credit to the fact that this was a well thought out design, instead of just having the little, the little tin soldiers lined up next to each other in their pairs, they had actually grouped them with one of each style with Mr. Peanut in the middle. And one was they were flanking either side of a fairly large blue cobalt bowl, which I did not get, but so they put some thought into how it looked. But for whatever reason, maybe because it was so high, whatever, they hadn't even taken it off the shelf. So I got him. So I will say I did do a little bit of looking at the Mr. Peanut, or the Peanut person, because I don't think he is Mr. Peanut. He doesn't have the monocle. He doesn't have a cane. Oh, actually, he does have a cane. But when I did a little bit of looking, I did find him. There's some discrepancy because, you know, if it's on the internet, it must be true. But I do believe it is a later issue. I do not believe this is technically Depression era. First of all, I don't think Mr. Peanut or Planters Peanuts actually even came out until 40s. Trying to think, their 75th anniversary was, I think, around the millennium. So 20s, maybe 20s. So maybe he could have been Depression class, but I don't think it is. It is not marked. There's nothing on the bottom. And he's in too good condition. The glass is fairly thick. I had seen a Planters Peanut. It was big enough to be, let's just say it was big enough to be a cookie jar. I was shopping in Maryland with Dawn from the Just One More Dachshund Rescue, and we came across it. And it was priced as if it was an older piece, but afterwards, after I filmed it, there were people that came in and said, no, that was actually a reproduction piece. So I'm having a feeling these kind of fall in the same category. If it's a reproduction of Mr. Peanut, they did a fairly poor job, because other than the fact that his body is actually a peanut, I'm not sure Mr. Peanut ever looked like that. He just looks kind of dumpy. So I think it's still cool. I'm still glad I picked him up. And it's definitely going to be something. I'll be selling these in the live sale because there's already many listed on eBay and Etsy, so I don't really need to add another pair into the mix. So I'll just give it a good price and sell it on my live sale. I have not done the research on these, so I don't know if anyone recognizes. I thought that pattern was very simple, but I liked that one a lot. But I like the overall shape of this, and I have a feeling these shapes and that design is probably going to be Google Lensable. I just haven't done it yet. So if you happen to recognize it, I will take any suggestions. I always appreciate that, particularly whether these, because I don't know if then these are also going to be considered reproduction. I'm not as familiar with the cobalt glass or even the specifics of Depression era glass, so I am not sure necessarily where those fall, but they were definitely worthy picking up, and I'm going to resell them. So moving from glass into metal, I found a few pieces that I thought were worthy picking up, and these also will all be available for resale. The first one, nothing particularly special, but this is something that when I come across them, which I probably only have come across them maybe a couple of times, I do always think of Jeffrey from Real Nifty Vintage, because if you've watched some of my videos, particularly my earlier videos, I effectively had a shrine built to Jeffrey from Real Nifty Vintage because I watched every single one of his videos multiple times before I launched my resale business. I learned so much from the way he did his videos. And he had just made a passing comment one time. He found one of these, and I believe, if I remember correctly, because it's been at least 2 years, if I remember correctly, he actually said he had been on the lookout for something like this because he wanted one for himself. It just had some sort of a memory for him that he had once seen one, or maybe his grandparents had one. I can't remember the story behind it, but he'd always wanted one, and so one time he came across one and he was keeping it. So anytime I see them, I think of Jeffrey. It's not like he needs an entire collection of them, so it's not like I'm going to send it to Jeffrey, but they are a fairly standard offering. That is a really nice vintage. People do have memories of them growing up. You know, the pocket change, you know, on your dad's dresser, your grandfather's dresser. It's just a great little piece of copper, some great age, some great patina. And it was inexpensive enough, and this is something that, again, they're fairly plentiful on eBay and Etsy, so it'll probably just end up in one of my live sales. I will throw out, for some of the things that I'm showing here, if at any point you see something that you can't live without, go ahead and reach out to me, let me know what you're looking for. Unless I say otherwise, all of these are going to be made available for sale. There's a couple items that may end up in a fundraiser, but if you're interested in something, I'm sure we can work something out, and saves me the hassle of listing it, so you might even get a better price. So we got that. And then an area that I admittedly don't really pick up that often, somewhat because I don't come across it very often, but also because when I do come across it, I don't know what it is, enamelware. So I've had some enamel in the past, and I usually just pick it up from its kitschy, you know, not even kitschy. I guess it's just kind of that primitive, the kitchen, not kitschy, kitchen look that some people just like that enamel look, whether they're doing camping, you know, whatever the case. There's certain, you know, memories or history, and so this kind of falls in that category. It's just a simple enameled cup. It definitely has that look that you get when you have, you know, legitimate vintage enamelware. But what was different about this one is it's marked on the bottom, Sweden. So I have Swedish enamelware. What's it doing in Illinois? I have no idea. But I kind of thought that moved it into kind of a cool category. It's not, maybe it is a brand. I don't really see, I can't really read anything in the logo itself. So maybe I can Google Lens it. Maybe there is something in the middle. But I just kind of picked that up because I'm like, well, it makes it different. Unless I can figure out the maker, it doesn't make it different enough to go into eBay or Etsy, because if I don't have the right search terms, it's hard for little things like this to get picked up. So again, that'll probably end up in one of my live sales. And then this one, I guess technically is not enamelware, but it kind of has that look. It's just a very lightweight aluminum grease container, which I thought was interesting because I'd never seen a grease container made to look like a coffee pot. So the container has the little holes in it, so that I guess when you're using, I guess you could pour out the hot grease, and then all of the food particles or, you know, whatever that was in the grease would stay in the jar. So I don't know if that's a thing. I didn't grow up having a grease jar. I remember in college, I had a roommate who started a grease jar, and I had no concept of what he was doing. Literally did not know why he was doing it. And it was because he had grown up with it, and so he felt we needed one in the kitchen. I personally found the practice disgusting, but maybe this is something you're supposed to, when it's still hot, you pour out the liquid grease, so then what you have left is the stuff? I don't know. But I thought it was kind of cool because it's not, I mean, it's not the best shape, but it's a grease container, so I don't think we're looking for mice and porcelain here. It's just kind of cool. So again, lightweight, really nothing special. There's a mark on the bottom that does say Taiwan, so it's not super ancient, but you know, kind of a cool little piece that, again, if you've got a vignette, you've got a kitchen, you know, little kitchen display. I don't know if you'd want to use it. It'll probably clean up a little bit, but I'm not sure you would actually, well, I guess you're not eating from it, so I guess you could use it. So anyway, thought that was kind of a fun little pickup, and adding that to my collection of things to sell online. If you've spent any time in any of my videos on my channel, you'll know that I really have an affinity for pottery and porcelain. And so when I can find it, I will absolutely pick it up. And I definitely love it when it is marked. One of the things I like about porcelain is because, particularly European porcelain, in many cases the marks are so specific, you can figure out even what year, and in some cases what month something was made. But in general, pottery and porcelain, even when it gets into studio pottery, I like when it's marked because there's some level of history there, there's some level of specificity, that even if it's some, you know, high school student's piece, you can still have a really interesting piece that has a story, has unique character, and is something that literally no one else is ever going to have when you get to that level. This piece really spoke to me. I liked the looks of it. I liked the glaze of it. I just think this is really beautiful oxblood red glaze with, you know, the circles and everything in it. It does unfortunately have a couple of tiny little chips, which again, if you're familiar with my channel, you're probably shocked. Why would I pick something up that has damage? Because I almost never want to carry anything with damage. My exception is when if it has damage. If it's something special, it's still worth to pick up because it's worth to give it a good home. I just have to price it accordingly. But what made the decision to go ahead and pick it up, and I still will have to do a little bit more research on it, but there is a mark, the incised mark on the bottom that indicates this was made in Denmark. There's also a number on the bottom, which hopefully will make it easier to find. So it is Danish pottery. I think it's pretty cool. So, and luckily, the two chips are relatively close to each other. So you got the one there and then the one little there on the edge. So if you spin it around, you can actually put this out and the damage is to the back. So lucky that's the case. So it's still damaged, so I'm still not going to be able to get a premium price, but it is Danish pottery, and so that Scandi design, there's definitely going to be some age, or I'm going to assume there's some age to this. I can't wait to find out a little bit more about it, because even though it just says Denmark, the fact that it is not like handwritten, it's a stamp, puts this, I would say, into studio pottery. So this might have been a production piece, that there are others similar, and I might be able to find more information about it. So I was super excited to get that. And then the other, which is, in the big scheme of things, probably not going to be as valuable, and to some people not as interesting. But because we just finished the Olympics, I thought it was interesting that I came across these. It is a pair of Maxwell House coffee mugs that are specifically for the 1984 Olympics. And so there's one for the figure skating team and another one for the ski team. So we have the Winter Olympics from 1984. I should have looked those up. I don't remember where they were. I was thinking 84 would have been Los Angeles, but Los Angeles would not have been the Winter Olympics. So I'm not sure where those were, but they do have both of them have the logo on the front, and then it spins around. It turns into Maxwell House. On the bottom, also I found interesting. It's not something I pick up very often, but I didn't even know they did this kind of thing. It's false graph. So you've got the false graph logo specifically for a Maxwell House, or like a branded piece. I didn't know that false graph did branded pieces like that. So I don't think there's going to be a huge amount of value to these. Could be wrong. If I look them up, hey, maybe they'll go on Etsy. But I picked these up probably just to offer in a live sale, because they're coffee mugs. They're totally functional. So it's always nice to have functional products that, even though there's some age to them, you can still use them. But they're also of a very specific time, and some people are going to have some affinity to this, either because of the Olympics or because of these specific sports. So I'm sure there were more of these. At the estate, they only had these two, but that's cool. Even having the two, it's still two different sports, so you're kind of getting a pair. So it's just kind of fun to have, and I'll make them available at one of my live sales. One area that I do have an interest in as well, and it's not really anything I specialize in, but I always just find it really fun, is ephemera. And I do have a couple of collections on my own that I've started. In some cases, I've started recently, since I've started reselling, because I just come across some really cool things. And I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know these existed. I need to start this as a collection. There's nothing here that is going to move me into building a collection territory, but there definitely was some ephemera that I picked up that I had never seen before, and I just thought was a lot of fun. And again, picked it up. That may not particularly have a lot of value. One of the things I do in my live sales, I do mystery boxes. So I always like to have small, lightweight things that go into those, because they're just fun. People can pick those up, and it's kind of just like a little grab bag of stuff that they can get in the mail. And I've had some really positive responses to what I've included. So I like to pick up little things. And so things like this, if I ever have a mystery box going to Wisconsin, this little vintage motoring in Wisconsin guide would be kind of fun to throw in there, because this is, let's see, did it have a date? It does. It was copyrighted in 1955. So, it's just a cool little vintage brochure. Whether you like it for the actual brochure, but you also have some pretty cool graphics in here. So people that like junk journaling, it's in really good condition. So I'd hate to see it ripped apart, but you need to give, in some cases, things need to have a purpose in life. I don't think you really need a Rules of the Road book from 1955, but you could maybe pass some of the pieces onto it and give it another life in another form. Another item that just kind of falls into, I needed to save it so that it goes to some place to give it a good home. I don't know what you're going to use these for. It might even be a flash in the pan. You give it to the kid for 10 minutes and you're done. But what a fun thing to give a kid. It is a set of, it should be a set of 6 paper airplanes. I would say from the graphics, this is kind of looking 70s or 80s. That would be my guess based on, the way that's done. I'm not sure if it actually had a date on here, but it was opened. It was done by Carlisle, was the company, which I've never heard of. But it was sold in a way that you would actually mail this. So I don't know if you could do the gift. You have this huge advertisement going through the mail. But inside, it was ripped open, but inside, you actually still have 5 of the 6 paper airplanes on the paper that still have all the instructions, and they're pre-printed to make the design. So, and they're color coordinated. So you've got the blue one, which would make, it would make that blue one. So you've got, this sheet to make that airplane. So there's the blue one. Let's see, it's like a game. So that must be this one. colors don't really match there, but I'm assuming that's what those wheels must match. Some of them have, like, some of them are more advanced. There's directions on both sides, but that one has the scary little bird thing, so that's that one. And then we got a dark green one, the Invader, so that was one on the top. And then another gold one, which I guess is the one on the bottom. So the one that's missing is that blue one. So they must have already done the blue one. So anyway, not a huge value. This was just something that I kind of grabbed and threw into my box. It's aerodynamic challenges, high-flying fun, easy to follow folding instructions. Okay, I will just say some of these do not look easy to follow. How do you fold some of that when it's going in different directions? So I'm sure the instructions are, well, I'm sure they're there. And, who needs instructions? So we'll see. But again, it's just going to be something. It might end up in a mystery box, or I might sell them, for something. And I like to have some inexpensive items in my live sale, just because some people like to buy, they like to participate, but they don't want to spend a lot of money. So this would be very lightweight to ship, and it's just kind of fun. I don't think the packaging's in horrible condition, so it's not something you're going to put on display. But I just think this is either relive your own childhood or watch your kids or grandkids enjoy their childhood. So you've got the paper airplanes. That's kind of fun. Speaking of childhood, I picked this up, which I thought was really, really interesting. I definitely want to do some research on this because I'm not sure, big picture, I'm not sure what this is. But first of all, it came in this cool little shelf, holder, and it is published by the American Guidance Service. They are Peabody Picture Vocabulary Tests. So you've got this set of books that, let's see, how do I do this? So we've got 2 books. And the books are, one of them has actual pictures. So you'd go through, I guess so each page is marked, and then each image is marked. So you've got that. You then have, I think this is, these are, I think, are the instructions. This is how to give the test and then how to score the test. And the reason I found this one really cool, and I definitely wanted to save it so that it didn't get destroyed, it still has the answer guides, or the test forms. So there's a whole stack of the actual forms that you would actually fill out. So in this case, you've got Form A, the individual test records. So you put in the name, age, data, test scores, blah, 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 blah. And so I guess what you're dealing with is, so plate number 1. This actually appears, this isn't what I thought it was. So this is actually the performance evaluation form. So this is what you would do because it's giving you the answers. So I'm like, wait a minute, what kind of test is this? So on page 1, you're supposed to identify the car, which it tells you is number 4. And here, page 1, the car is number 4. So I guess these forms, so this must have been the teacher's guide or the teacher's box. So I guess you're supposed to fill in what the errors were. So basically you're scoring it. So sealing items, less error, raw score. What's a sealing item? So the basal is 8 consecutive correct responses. Sealing is 6 errors in 8 consecutive responses. Yike. It's like throwing math into words. Test behavior. All right, so again, this is probably going to be geared, I would think a teacher or an educator would be interested in this because it's really encapsulating, and even though I thought the answers forms were there, but they're not. But the fact that the test results forms are still there is probably going to be just as interesting because this is a snapshot from 1959. So this is going to be one of those cases of how did they teach word recognition and image recognition for a vocabulary test? How did they do it in 1959 compared to maybe how they do it now? I don't know exactly how it changed. And you've got still all of the instructions of how to give the test, so you can maybe even analyze, like this could even become like a case study. Hey, was this good? Or did we screw up an entire generation of kids that took this test in 1960? So, all kinds of fun. But anyway, I just thought it was very cool. It's all together. It all sits very nicely in this little this little cardboard shelf holder. And I don't know. I mean, there's not going to be huge value to this. I just thought that this is, again, in some cases, I'm just trying to save things so they don't end up in a landfill. There's going to be someone who's going to find this interesting, even just from the research aspect of it. Or, you know, once again, if you want to, you could split it apart, and all of those individual cards with the images would make some pretty cool junk journaling. So that was just something I definitely wanted to pick up. Now, the next item, no, I'm going to skip that. The next one, like, this is definitely something will end up in a mystery box. I'm just showing it here because I thought it's hilarious. I do not know why you have a book that combines cowboy songs and sea shanties. I don't exactly understand what those have to do with each other, because most cowboy areas that I'm aware of aren't anywhere near the sea. So, blow, boy, ya blow. A Yankee ship came down the river, blow. Oh, no, boy. Yeah, I don't have my glasses near, so that would be not blow, boya, it's blow, boys. Sorry. A Yankee ship came down the river, blow, boys, blow. Her masts and spars, they shine like silver. Blow, my bully boys, blow. I have a feeling I should be doing a chant and maybe with some weird New England accent. But so that would be one of the sea shanties. And then the Boston Come All Ye. Well, it includes the word sailor, so I guess we're still in the sea shanties. Where are all the cowboy songs? High Barbary. There were two lofty ships. Sounds like a sea shanty. Oh, night herding song, like shep herding. And the old Chisholm Trail. Well, come along, boys, listen to my tale. I'll tell you of my troubles on the old Chisholm Trail. Sounded pretty cowboyish right there. So, silly little book. Little being kind of operative here. It's a little paperback classic. It has a copyright of 1970. So, cute little book. Not much value. Fun little item. Lightweight, small item that I'll be able to throw into a mystery box. But I just thought that was kind of fun, because whose mental processes combine those two? So, that was kind of fun. This one was neat because, one, you had dot to dot, which is fun. You know, it's dot to dot for the church and home. It's maybe less fun. But you've got, okay, wait a minute. They're loose leaf pictures, so they come out. I thought they were falling out. They come out. What I don't quite understand is what makes them dot to dot. Do you see a dot? I don't see a dot. But it says dot to dot. So it says 1 to 10, dot to dot, 12 loose leaf pictures to color. You can color it, but there ain't nothing to dot. Really big dot. No dot. Oh look, a fire for the cowboy songs. God gives us clothes to wear. Evidently God knits. Jesus lives in my house. Hope he pays rent. Oh, we got the sea shanty song too. We got the boat for the sea shanty. And so none of these have dots. I have no idea why this is called the dot to dot book. So again, probably something that'll end up in my mystery boxes. But the main reason I bought it was because of what was tucked inside. These. I don't know what these are, but I thought they were pretty cool. Because they all say printed in the USA. They have copyrighted CPH. I have no idea what that is. But they are little pop-out, like people that then have these little stands that you slide. So like they would stand up. They would be little two-dimensional, but they would stand upright. So you've got I'm going to pretty much say, based on her pants, that big white belt, we're in the 70s. So we've got a couple. Let's see. No, we've got multiple families. So we've got this one, because she isn't wearing pants. Then we've got the family where she's wearing a skirt. And then another family. And then this one is partially, I don't think it was cut out. I think it just fell apart, or it's starting to separate. We have the non-nuclear family with the upside down father, but with grandpa as part of the picture. So we're trying to mix things up a little bit. So we've got the multiple ethnicities, we've got the multiple types of families. I don't know what you do with them, but they're pretty cool. So I definitely picked those up. I don't know. We'll see what I do with those because I don't even know how to research them. But the fact that they're not cut out, I do think there's probably maybe a little bit of value to those. And again, a snapshot. It's got to be from the 70s just based on their clothing. So thought that was pretty cool. Now, I'm going to talk in hushed tones because I'm afraid that my neighbors will be sharpening their pitchforks and lighting their torches if they know what I have. Because the last item I picked up, I was being shunned during the estate sale because of it. It's the Green Bay Packers. I'm sorry. I've got Green Bay Packer stuff. What am I doing with Green Bay Packer stuff? But I have Green Bay Packer stuff. And it's kind of cool. I barely know what sport this is, but it's kind of cool. So I found this in one of those boxes I mentioned that had never been opened. Now, maybe it was open and then somebody saw the horror of the Green Bay Packers and they shoved the lid back on. I don't know, maybe. But in here is some pretty cool stuff. So first you have the... Wait, I'm missing it. There we go. You have... This is actually really nice. It's These are expensive. These very rigid 8x10 photo holders. So this one's actually very nice. It has a certificate of authenticity. It is an autograph picture of Bart Starr. This is how off I am. I thought his name was Brett Starr and I couldn't find him. So Bart Starr. And then we also have one that didn't quite get taken care of quite so nicely. But we have a lovely Ziploc bag. And that was some dude that his name completely escapes me. Beebe. Don Beebe. I had the D and I had the B. So, okay, we got Don Beebe, number 82. This one is dated 1997. The other one does not have a date, but the photograph has that little holographic thing down at the bottom, and the photograph is dated 1999. So I had those two. And the fact that it has a little holographic thing, so there's actually value just because of that, because it makes it legit. But those are newer. Then there was this, which is also newer. This is, has a website on it, 1999. But it is a first day of issue Green Bay Packers with the stamp. So that is stamped 1999. And it's got Green Bay Packers there. And then a little package together. I don't know if they would have actually, would they've come together? Probably would not have come together because the Sports Illustrated issue is 1967 and the press book is actually 1966. So I'm assuming even though the January 1967 issue probably came out in December of 66, I would have thought the press book would have come out earlier than that, but I don't know. This is not... I think this is more modern. It's got it's bag and board, so maybe they bought it like this. I do not know when they came out, but there's actually value to the press book by itself. And I did look that up, and I have not looked up the Sports Illustrated issue. I don't know if there's going to be any value to that. So I thought that was cool. And then the one redeeming value that will probably mean I won't get shot by my friends is the Bears Packer program from 1956. So it is what I also find interesting. It's at Wrigley Field, which is where the Cubs play. So I don't know what that's all about. But it was the official program, 25 cents, of the Chicago Bears versus Green Bay Packer game from 1956. So there's a couple, legit vintage stuff in here, and then the far more modern photographs and the day of issue stuff. So this is the one I mentioned at the beginning. This is probably something that'll end up on Etsy or maybe even on eBay because I'll probably just package together as a lot. I don't sell this stuff. I don't know anything about this. I will take the photographs of it. I will say what I know. The program, unfortunately, has a little bit of water damage to it. You can see the corners kind of waterlogged. It's not bad, but it's not a perfect flat, so we're going to have to reflect that. And, maybe I'll do it as two lots. For those of you who sell sports stuff, let me know. Like, would the two vintage things be better going together, and then the more modern stuff, go separately? But technically, at least according to Etsy, they'd all be considered vintage because all at least 20 years old. So I just think I'm going to put it all together just as one lot because then I can ship it all together. and, you know, see what happens. So that might happen, but open to suggestions if anybody has one. So that's it. That is my haul, and hopefully you found it interesting. It was such a wide variety. I thought it was just kind of fun to show it. I wish I'd gotten some video while I was shopping, because just where some of this stuff was and how the estate sale had organized it and how some of this was stored. Again, maybe it was a hoarder, but every box was very nicely labeled. You know, they had a box called Vintage Christmas. They had a box called Easter. You know, that you could find what you were looking for just by reading the side of the box. It was a very organized hoarder. So it was kind of fun to do it, and it was fun to pick up some of these items. And again, none of the stuff that I showed you will be anything that I keep for myself, so it'll all be available for sale. So I hope you did enjoy the video. If you've gotten this far and you have not subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate you considering doing so, or if at least giving it a thumbs up, maybe throwing a comment, tell me what you liked on there. Those little things do help my channel get viewed by other people that might have interests similar to yourself. And if you have any suggestions about how to sell some of the individual items or research that I need to be able to do, absolutely open to all of your suggestions and hints on what I should or should not consider doing as I make all of these things available. So appreciate your time. I definitely will talk to you again too. Thank you for putting your time in Trusty Huckster. Bye.
Well, show me a sign if you're wishing me to stay. Otherwise, I say goodbye and finish out the day. And that sunrise in the morning and you got nothing to say. Oh, that's when I'll be headed on my way.